Ever wondered how the batteries that power your devices are made? No? Too busy catching up on cat videos, huh? Well, let's put a pause on those furry felines for a moment, because batteries, believe it or not, are omnipresent in our daily lives. From keeping your phone alive to running your electric car, these mysterious little power pods are the unsung heroes of our modern world. Well, brace yourselves, because we're about to dive into the intriguing world of battery production. And no, it's not as boring as it sounds, I promise. Like any good story, we start with the basics. Raw materials. Now, making batteries isn't quite like making a Victoria sponge cake, but it's not too far off. You see, just like a grand British bake-off, we need a selection of fine ingredients to whip up our power-packed delicacy. These ingredients are none other than raw materials such as lithium, nickel, cobalt, and others. Imagine lithium as your flour, the foundation of your cake, if you will. Next, you have nickel and cobalt, the sugar and eggs of your battery recipe. They add that oomph factor, enhancing the performance and longevity of your battery. And let's not forget a pinch of graphite, the baking powder that makes everything come together nicely. But remember, just like in baking, it's not just about having the right ingredients, it's about the right proportions. Too much sugar and your cake, or in this case your battery, could end up a disaster. So we've got our ingredients. What next? Time to cook up some power. Now, making a battery isn't as simple as tossing a salad. It's more like baking a cake. You need the right ingredients, carefully measured and mixed, then baked to perfection. Our first ingredient is metal, typically lithium. Think of this as the flour of our battery cake. Just like you wouldn't want lumps in your flour, we need to ensure our metal is of the highest quality. It's then ground into a fine powder, smoother than your best Sunday gravy. Next, we add our eggs, the electrolyte. This is what allows the electrical charge to flow, like eggs allow a cake to rise. This isn't your typical grocery store find, though. It's a carefully concocted chemical mixture, a secret recipe, if you will, that gives our battery its zap. Then we come to the butter of our battery cake, the separator. This thin piece of material prevents the flour and eggs from sticking together. It's like the bouncer at a club, keeping the positive and negative ions from getting into a tussle. Once we've got our ingredients prepared, it's time to mix them all together. Just like baking a cake, this isn't a case of dump and stir. No, each component is carefully layered on top of the other. It's a delicate dance of chemistry, engineering, and a dash of magic. Once our battery cake mix is ready, it's time for the baking. This isn't your typical oven bake, though. We're talking about a high-temperature sintering process where our battery is heated to temperatures hotter than the sun's surface. It's like we're making a sun cake here, folks. After a lengthy bake, our battery comes out glowing and full of potential energy. It's cooled down, inspected for any imperfections, and then it's ready for the next step in the process. And voila, we've baked our power cake. But wait, it's not ready to be served just yet. It still needs a few finishing touches before it's ready to power your gadgets and gizmos. So stay tuned for the next step in our battery baking bonanza. Now, the final step is like putting icing on our cake. It's all about packaging. It's the moment when our humble power pod gets its suit of armor, the casing. It's like Batman getting into his bat suit or a knight donning his shiny armor. It's a crucial step, folks. This casing isn't just there to make our battery look pretty. It's a protective layer that shields the inner workings from the outside world. It's like a bodyguard for our battery, fighting off moisture, heat, and pressure. But let's not forget, it's also the battery's business card, carrying important information about its voltage, capacity, and manufacturing date. It's like the battery's LinkedIn profile, if you will. The casing is sealed, and voila, our battery is dressed to impress and ready to take on the world. And there you have it, a ready-to-use battery eager to power your life, one device at a time. So the next time your device runs out of juice, spare a thought for the humble battery. You see, it's not just a simple power pod, it's a marvel of science, born out of raw materials, cooked to perfection and finished with finesse. It's like a tiny, power-packed pastry, baked in the oven of innovation, and it's there, in your hands, powering your device, making your life easier. And remember, batteries are like cats. They may seem simple and indifferent, but there's a lot going on under the surface. Until next time, stay charged.